Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the CFL DFS video for week 21. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how this week's video will be structured. We'll be going through my CFL DFS sheet for week 21, talking through all the relevance, all of the notable players for this week, whether or not I would consider them a GPP option, a cash game option, or a GPP paydown option. I will also be mentioning whether or not I'll be in line with the field, overweight, underweight, slightly underweight in terms of ownership. And keep in mind, it's the final week of the regular season for CFL, so a lot of these teams do have playoff spots locked up. A lot of them do have pretty much their season over, so we might see some guys getting some extra playing time that wouldn't typically get that. So everything that I do say in this video, take it with a grain of salt because it could very much change. And with that being said, any other major changes that do come out throughout the week will be listed down in the comment section below, as well as the depth charts for all 8 teams. And then I will have this CFL DFS sheet posted up on my Patreon page. There's a very small monthly donation over there, but I'm probably just going to make it free for this week, kind of as a thank you for everyone that has been following my CFL DFS content throughout the season. But with that being said, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with the Ottawa Redblacks. We saw Tyree Adams get the start at quarterback last week. Kind of mixed results there. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's at $10,000. If he gets to start once again, you could look at him. I don't love the price tag, though. However, Drew Brown was the emergency third-string quarterback last week. He did not practice once again this week due to the knee injury, technically still listed as questionable. However, Dustin Crum didn't practice on Tuesday, but did practice in full on Wednesday due to that head injury, technically listed as questionable. If he does get the start, he's kind of an interesting play at $8,000. Probably kind of a paydown option there if that he does ultimately end up getting the start, and would be slightly overweight to the field on him. Once again, not really interested in the running back position for the Ottawa Redblacks. And then we'll move down to wide receiver. Pretty much the same 4 guys we talked about all season. Braylon Addison, Justin Hardy, Geno Lewis, and Khalil Pimbleton. All kind of GPP options. Probably going to be in line with the field on all 4 of them once again this week. If you want to make a major stance, definitely feel free to do that at the same time as well. And then Devonta Denman, we did see return last week. So if you want to roll him out there as a primary return guy, you can definitely do that. Although maybe a little bit more expensive than I like at this point in time. Moving down to the Redblacks defense, they're at $3,500. Viable paydown option, probably going to be in line with the field on them once again this week. And then we move down to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Bo Levi Mitchell at quarterback, if he does ultimately end up getting the start, he's at $10,600. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him, maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field. And then we move down to running back with Greg Bell. He's at $8,500. I have him listed as a GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him once again as well. Then we move down to wide receiver, mainly just looking at Kenny Lawler, Keandre Smith, and Tim White once again as kind of GPP options. Probably going to be in line with the field on all 3 of them. If you really want to play somebody else beyond that, you can definitely do that at the same time as well. And then we move down to that Tiger Cats defense. They're all the way up at $4,500. I think there definitely is a ton of upside to be had there. GPP option, probably going to be slightly overweight to the field on them. And then we move down to Calgary Stampeders. They are one of the few teams I believe that are not playing for anything this week. So Ferdinand Adams Jr. at $9,300. If he does end up getting the start, he's a viable GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field. If he doesn't start, we're probably getting Josh Love, who GPP option, GPP paydown option, probably going to be slightly underweight to the field on him in that case. And then at running back, we got Dedrick Mills. GPP option, if he starts, he's at $9,000. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. However, I do like Ludwig Choquette a good amount this week. He's at $3,600. Viable paydown option, slightly overweight to the field. If Dedrick Mills were to miss, I definitely do like him quite a bit more and would consider him a cash game option at that point in time. Now moving down to wide receivers, this is the part that gets tricky for this team overall. Not really sure who's going to be the standout play. Kind of mix and match as you do see fit. I kind of like Clark Barnes a little bit this week at $3,900 as a viable paydown option. We did see Jalen Philpott miss practice on Tuesday and Wednesday due to an injury. Technically listed as questionable. I think at this point in time they'll hold him out. Malik Henry, who did not practice on Tuesday, was able to practice in full on Wednesday due to an illness, so he is technically listed as available, although that price tag is up there at this point in time. So with that being said, pretty much feel free to play any wide receiver that you do really want to get some exposure to from this team. Not anybody that truly stands out. I do have Keelan Horton, who was back last week as their primary returner. He's at $2,600. Viable paydown option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him once again this week. And then we had that Calgary Stampeders defense at $4,200. GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field, although we could see a good handful of backups playing this week just in general. Then we move down to the Edmonton Elks. We got Cody Fajardo at quarterback coming off a rough week. He's up to $9,400, but we'll be underweight to the field on him at this point in time. And then Justin Rankin at running back, Disappointing last week at $9,600. Still consider him a GPP option. And I'm probably ultimately going to be in line with the field on him. You know, if the Stampeders play a lot of reserves on defense, could be a pretty good game for him just in general. You know, if you really want to roll out Javon Leake there as a primary return man who does a little bit on offense, you can definitely do that at the same time as well. Then moving down to the wide receiver room, Curly Gittens Jr. is going to be out this week due to a head injury, so make sure that you do not play him. And the wide receivers that I would have some interest in this week for the Edmonton Elks are going to be Keon Julian Grant, Benjamin Victor, and OJ Hilaire. So kind of GPP options for the three of them. Technically, Benjamin Victor listed as a pay down option. Probably going to be in line with the field, maybe ever so slightly overweights the field on all three of them once again this week. Then we move down to the Elks defense. They're at $3,800. GPP option, I am technically in line with the field on them, but maybe ever so slightly overweights the field, depending on who ultimately ends up missing or resting for that Calgary Stampeders team just in general. Then we move down to the Montreal Alouettes. We got Davis Alexander at quarterback. He's $9,700. He is my cash game option at quarterback this week. Slightly overweight to the field on him as long as he is the starter for this game. Then we move down to running back Stevie Scott at $7,000. I have listed as a GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. Travis Tice was able to practice in a limited capacity on Wednesday due to his ankle injury, so I wouldn't expect him back this week, but probably for the playoffs he should be back. And then Benjamin, if you really wanted to throw him out there as a pay-down option, you could. He did have a couple of returns last week, so could help out in the return game. Was a little bit involved in offense, but probably not anybody that I really get to at $3,800. Wish he was a little bit cheaper just in general. Then we move down to wide receivers. James Lecter Jr., $2,900, was able to practice in full on Wednesday due to that leg injury. We'll see whether or not he's back this week or not. And if he's back, he likely takes over the return duties once again. In terms of the other wide receivers, I have Austin Mack, Tyson Philpott, and Tyler Snead, all listed as GPP options. Probably going to be in line with the field on all three of them. Austin Mack coming off the big game. Tyson Philpott, very disappointing game last week, so maybe ever so slightly overweights the field on him if his ownership is reduced this week just in general. And then with Tyler Snead, he was technically limited practice on Wednesday due to a shoulder injury, but I do not really expect that to impact his status for this week overall. And then we move down to the Alouettes defense. They're at $4,300. I have them listed as GPP option. I'm probably going to be in line with the field on them. Definitely do like their upside for this week overall. Then we move down to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We got Zach Collaros at quarterback. He's $9,200. If you really want to go out there and play him, I understand it with some of the other quarterbacks that could be, resting this week just in general. But I don't think there's a ton of upside to be had there at this point in time, so I will be underweight to the field on him. Then we move down to running back with Brady Oliveira. He's $9,400. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him once again this week. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field. Then in terms of the wide receivers, Nick Dominski wasn't able to practice on Tuesday or Wednesday due to a hamstring injury. He's probably out once again. And then Keurig Wheatfall was not able to practice on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's not injury related, so we'll monitor his status moving forward, but probably not going to get to him this week overall. So mainly I'm going to look at Ontario Wilson. He's $7,200. Potential cash game play will be slightly overweight to the field on him once again. And then Jairus Stearns as a GPP option, probably going to be slightly overweight to the field on him once again. We did see Gavin Cobb called up last week and did make a few catches, so if you want to roll him out as a pay-down option if he's active once again, and if Dylan Mitchell's out, then he could be a pretty decent play just in general. Moving down to that Blue Bombers defense, I don't really see too much upside for them this week, even at $3,700, so I will be underweight to the field on them just in general. Moving down to the BC Lions, we got Nathan Rourke at quarterback. If he does ultimately end up getting the start, he's at $10,800. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field, maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field on him this week just in general. James Butler at running back, $9,200. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field. If he doesn't ultimately end up starting, then Xander Horvath would very much be in play for this week just in general. In terms of the wide receivers, mainly looking at Javon Catoy, Keon Hatcher, and Justin McInnis, all as kind of GPP options. Probably going to be in line with the field on all three of them. Justin McInnis was limited practice on Tuesday, but was able to practice in full on Wednesday due to his ankle injury, so wouldn't expect anything to majorly impact him for this week just in general. Then for that BC Lions defense, they're at $3,900, kind of GPP pay down option. Probably slightly overweight to the field on them this week just in general. Moving down to the Roughriders, they're one of the teams that are not really playing for anything this week. Jake Meyer did get the start last week, so I would expect him to get the start once again. He's at $8,900. I have him listed as a GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. maybe ever so slightly underweight to the field. It kind of depends on who else ends up starting at quarterback this week just in general. Tommy Stevens was not able to practice on Tuesday and Wednesday due to that knee injury once again. AJ Alouette did miss last week as a healthy scratch, so would expect him to be out once again for this matchup. However, Mario Anderson, who replaced him last week, was not able to practice on Tuesday and Wednesday due to a knee injury, so we could see Thomas Bertrand Hutton being a major part of this run game this week just in general at $2,500. If Mario Anderson's out, you could consider him a cash game option for this week overall. And then we move down to the wide receivers. So we have a couple injuries here. Keyshawn Johnson, Dante Myers, and Joe Robustelli. All three of them have not practiced yet this week. Probably going to be out for this week just in general. So when I'm looking at the wide receivers, mainly looking at Tommy Neal at $6,200. GPP option probably going to be in line with the field. And then potentially Mitchell Picton at $2,500 as a paydown option in line with the field, maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field. Had a pretty decent week last week. And then Keon Schaefer-Baker at $4,600, viable paydown option at the same time as well. If you're really going to want to go out and play Sean Payne Jr. or Aju, you could definitely do that at the same time as well. And then in terms of their Roughriders defense, they're at $4,100. I am personally underweight to the field on them this week just in general. I think there's going to be a lot of backups playing, and if BC plays their starters, it's not going to be the greatest matchup just in general. And then last but not least, the Toronto Argonauts are the lone team on the bye this week. But with that being said, that's what I do have for my CFL DFS sheet for week 21. As always, if you have any questions related to CFL DFS, be sure to drop them down in that comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again, I'll be listing all the depth charts down in that comment section, as well as any other major news. Anything else that comes out beyond that will be updated on this sheet, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Once again, I'm going to make this sheet available for free over on my Patreon page as a way to say thank you for those who have supported my CFL DFS content throughout the season. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Greg Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays. This will be the final one as the regular season is ending. And then I do have my NFL DFS core pick video coming out once a week, and that will be coming out on Friday or Saturday. Varies a little bit week to week. Obviously, did miss that last week, so I do apologize for that once again. And then next week, I will be starting on my NBA DFS core pick videos, and those will be typically coming out Monday through Fridays. So definitely be on the lookout for those videos as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and PrizePicks. If you're a brand new user on either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For PrizePicks, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Greg Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for this week's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in CFL DFS for week 21.